Now today we're going to be talking about the iPhone 15, which is releasing on the 22nd of September, and that is only a few days away. And the interesting thing is, what I'm going to be talking about today is if you're upgrading from a 12 like I am, or even a 14, my thoughts and my opinions, if you should or if you should not upgrade. Now I am currently coming from an iPhone 13, so maybe this video is more related to an iPhone 13, or even if you have an iPhone 14, I'm going to be sharing my thoughts and opinions about that, but more specifically targeted towards people that have a 13 and the ones that are definitely thinking about upgrading from their current phone to the brand new iPhone 15. So with the iPhone 12, the CPU in it is a A13 chipset, and the brand new iPhone 15 will be coming with a A17 chipset, so that's pretty much a big upgrade. But as for the iPhone 14, you're coming from an A16 chipset to an A17 chipset. Now there's obviously going to be a bit of performance boost, which is great. However, there's not going to be such a drastic difference if you're coming from something like a 10, 11, 12, 13 all the way up to a 15. Going from an iPhone 14 or even a 14 Pro Max up until a 15 Pro or Pro Max is not going to be a significant bump, but there'll be minor changes. There will be a big bump with the RAM. The iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max are coming with 8 GB of RAM, which is good because 6 GB in this day and age is really not enough, and they're obviously charging way too much for 8 gigs of RAM in a phone, but we all know this is expected from Apple. And of course people love Apple for the cameras, so if you got a 10, 11, 12 or 13, understand that you're about 30 megapixels in your camera. Now the iPhone 14 and 15 Pro and Pro Maxes, they go all the way up to 48 megapixels. So as for camera difference between the iPhone 14 Pro, Pro Max to the iPhone 15, it's not going to be a significant boost. And honestly, everybody's freaking out, oh my god, I got 5 times optical zoom. Bro, the thing is, when are you really going to be using that 5 times optical zoom? I have a zoom on my camera and I nearly never use it. And anytime I do use it, the photo's not that good, it's pixelated. So if you're going out to buy the new iPhone 15 just to get the 5 times optical zoom, then I'm gonna say it's really not worth it. I really don't see someone using it that much. Now there's gonna be a new action button like there is on the Apple Watch Ultra, which is pretty much a function that you can press right here. Now you can change the action button to a variety of things such as do not disturb, access your camera to quickly take photos on the go, use your flash camera, and a few other features that are coming to it. I think it's cool, but I don't think it's worth paying $2,000 just for that one specific feature. Now moving on to the charging, as we know we have USB-C. Finally, after we've been talking about this for years and years, we finally have it. But the only reason is because iPhone didn't necessarily want to do that. It's a money-making thing for Apple because the company knows that we don't like the lightning cables. We don't use them on any other devices except our iPhones, and all the other devices that we have are USB-C, so it was a purely profit money-making thing for USB lightning cables. Now thanks to European laws, now Apple has to give us a USB-C, which they should have done years and years ago, like every other competitor, which is probably 8+ years ago by now we've had USB-C. And it's kind of ironic because they marketed it as, oh, we can now do USB-C and you can transfer stuff to and from your laptop so fast. No one uses a cable with their laptop or computers now. I've never used it for this computer, I've never used it on my MacBook, and I doubt I'm ever going to use it in the future. But if you're into things such as videography, and let's say you don't have a camera for some reason and you just use your iPhone, which is fine. Maybe you have a purpose for using this because you might want to grab a bunch of photos that you took of, let's say, some model and put them into Lightroom or Photoshop, edit them up, then export, let's say, 30 massive photos back to your iPhone. I would understand that in the situation, but as for the regular user, I wouldn't see why many people would use it. I've been having battery issues for months and months with my iPhone 12. My battery percentage is stuck on about 81%, so it goes flat relatively quickly. I can't even use it all day without it dying, or it just randomly overheats in my pocket, which is never a good sign. Now the main reasons for me personally upgrading to an iPhone 15, and you might be in a situation, now with this phone it's only a 2815 milliamp battery, which isn't that good. That's why it dies a lot, and it's old and slow for me. All the way up to a 3349 milliamp battery on the iPhone 15, which is a significant upgrade for me. And as for the CPU, I'm going from an A14 chipset all the way up to a A17, which is a significant boost. And as for the RAM, I'm going from 6 gigabytes all the way up to 8 gigabytes. And even though I don't really care about it, I'm still going to buy the phone regardless, because I am due for an upgrade, as it's been a few years since I've had this phone. So for me, getting USB-C, it's fine, I don't mind it. I've gotten used to using lightning cables. Even though it's a pain, it becomes a normal thing for the everyday iPhone user. Now, just quickly to sum this up, if I had a 14 Pro or 14 Pro Max, would I be upgrading to the iPhone 15 just based on the fact that, do I think it's worth the upgrade, instead of looking at the consumer side of, I just want the brand new latest phone? I personally would just stick with my current iPhone 14 Pro or Pro Max. Maybe you want to look at upgrading if you go from a 14 or a 14 Plus to a 15 Pro or Pro Max. Now, going from a 14 to a 15, you're going to have about the same battery, the same camera, the same CPU, the same dynamic island. You're going to get a 5 times optical zoom, which you're probably not going to be using that much. And you're going to be going from a lightning cable to a finally USB-C cable. Now for me, that's not worth the upgrade, but if you're the type of Apple fanboy or iPhone fanboy that likes the latest and greatest thing, then yeah, sure, I recommend it. But if you're upgrading from a purely technical standpoint, from the CPU to the RAM and everything like that, it's not going to be much of an upgrade. The only significant thing that you're going to see is from 6 gigs of RAM all the way up to 8 gigs. But the thing is, you're not going to be utilizing it that much, as not many people actually use the phone for hardcore tasks, such as, let's say someone's using CapCut, doing video editing, things like that. If people were to do it, they'd primarily use their computer. But if you're heavily using something like CapCut, video editing, Photoshop, whatever it may be, then possibly upgrading to the 8 gigabyte version, which is on the iPhone 15, might be worth it. But for me, it's not worth forking out $2,000 plus, because it is pretty expensive upgrade for such a minor upgrade. Other than that, I would like you guys to share today's video with your friends, family, whatever it may be, and comment down below if you're going to upgrade to the iPhone 15 or even 15 Pro series, and which phone you are coming from and why, or you just want to do it because you want the newest phone. That's cool. But if you enjoyed today's video, I'd much appreciate it if you subscribe and like the video, as my time does go into these as well as editing. And we'll see you guys next time. Take care.